everyone, my name is Sam and thanks for checking out this video if you are new, and thanks for coming back if you are returning. As the title suggests, and if you've been following along with this video kind of series, I am counting down the 12-ish favorite books of the year, kind of in theme of the 12 days of Christmas, instead of doing a Vlogmas, which I didn't think I was going to be able to commit to, nor do I think it would have been super interesting because I have a pretty boring life. So, my second favorite book of the year was The Black Witch by Laurie Forrest. This was going to be my number one until very late on in this year, and it really just barely got knocked out. There was just a couple things that number one had that it, not that it just didn't have, they're very different books, so it didn't need to be in here. It was just something different that I wasn't expecting from that book. So The Black Witch had a lot of controversy surrounding it, and I honestly think it's an incredibly important book to read, and I took it away from it, and it has been classified on Amazon and everything like that, that it is a book that deals with prejudice, that doesn't promote it, but I guess an original blogger that read it kind of took the opposite view away from her, and then a bunch of people didn't read the book and then just abided by that opinion for some reason. Honestly, this book was fantastic. I've read it 3 times this year. I may read it again before the end of the year, to be totally honest. I absolutely love it. It is over 600 pages. So this story is in a world that honestly has an awful lot of similarities to ours, just in like colonial history and like power geopolitics and racism and prejudice and homophobia that steep into a lot of different areas of our society, as well as where they come from. It's a lot of, older traditions that you're told from your grandparents or, religious people or leaders that you should think this one way, and when you do follow that, you create a world like this. This story centers around a girl named Ellerin, who is the granddaughter of the most recent Black Witch in this world. The Black Witch is kind of like a superstar, superpower that tends to lead a war to victory. The thing is, despite her grandma's immense power, Ellerin is completely without any sort of magic. She's been wand tested and nothing comes about. She's also been raised pretty sheltered life in kind of like a forest by her uncle, who is actually for the society quite, progressive. He doesn't want her marrying quite away. He wants to be very particular about what her aunt, who is very vocal about wanting to be separating races and such. So she's not a good character in the book. Her uncle tries to protect her and her brothers for as long as humanly possible before her aunt steps in and takes her to the capital where her aunt works politically, and kind of as a way to block her aunt from forcing the, I believe it's 16 or 15-year-old Ellerin from being wand fasted, which is essentially being magically bound to a romantic partner for life. He says that he will not allow this because he is technically the guardian of them. He will not allow this until she completes studies. So he sends her to a university, and just kind of like in our world, conveniently, this university forces all of its students and teachers to work with each other. No matter your race, your political affiliations, anything like that, you are required to go to class with a lot of these people, which, as you can imagine, creates a lot of situations. Her aunt forces her to live in some pretty unbearable conditions to try and force Ellerin to give up and abandon what her uncle wanted her to do and to marry her into a politically powerful family who, once again, is very pro-racism in this society. There's a lot of different romances, and you see this ragtag group of lovable misfits essentially start working together. They start interacting, and there's one scene particularly where they sit down and are like, "What have you heard about my people?" "No, we don't definitely do that." "No, that doesn't make sense. Why would you think that?" And it's so interesting to see that happen. I mean, I've had these kind of interactions with people whenever you go to the United States, and then they have this "What do you mean you guys have telephone? I thought you just rode polar bears and moose everywhere." And I'm like, no, that's not Canada. But this is just to a more extreme extent. I thought this book was absolutely amazing and did a great job of honestly bringing up issues that are still very prevalent in our society, and in the last, year or two of politics have really come to the forefront and been affecting a lot of people. I have so many theories about what magical powers and where this is going to go. The ragtag group starts a rebellion, and there's a lot of revealing at the end as to who is on what side and where everyone is going to be going. I just need to emphasize this. It's not really a spoiler that Ellerin definitely goes to the side of good, of anti-prejudice, and that is very positively reflected in this book. And that is made very, very clear in this book, along with her brothers and the ragtag group of lovable misfits. There's also a couple reveals here near the end that I was like, oh, yes. And there's so many questions up in the air as to exactly what is going to happen with her aunt politically, because there's a big event that happens there, as well as what's going on with her uncle, because he kind of takes a backseat, but he keeps being brought up and brought up. There's also a friend that Ellerin grows up with when she is living with her uncle, kind of in that sheltered life, named Sage, who goes against the grain, and she, again, takes a backstory, but she keeps appearing and appearing and appearing. And then on Instagram, Laurie Forrest mentioned that she's going to be reappearing. So I am just so curious about where the series is going to go. I really don't get the impression that it's going to be any sort of a white savior thing. I would be disappointed if it is, but it really doesn't seem that way. I've also read the prequel novella called Wandfasted, and look at that cover! It's the story of Ellerin's parents, who are obviously absent in the Black Witch. They have passed away, and it's the story of them, and you can it gives more context as to exactly what led to the world of the Black Witch being the way it is. And I read that and then ran back and reread this. And then I spoke to some people. They brought up some theories as to what magical powers certain characters have, because it's you don't know exactly who's got what powers at this point. And then they said that, so I had to reread it. And I definitely plan on rereading it before the next book comes out. It's called The Iron Flower. I think it's supposed to come out in September or so. I have it pre-ordered. I'm so beyond excited for that. And I'm really excited to see the cover for that one too. But I think it's just so incredibly important, and if it takes putting racism and prejudice in a fantasy setting for things to click, for people to understand exactly how we get to where we are and how prejudice and racism is, how people change their minds, then I am all for it. And honestly, this book absolutely drew me in. I went in ready to criticize it based on that original blog with a highlighter and read the 600 plus page book in one sitting because, oh my god, it's amazing. So I would definitely recommend you taking a read of it for your own self and definitely form your own opinion, and I hope you love it. So that is my second favorite book of the year. Make sure to check the description box down below for all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back.